at the Republican Party is that I don't see how they are reaching out to various groups of people, whether they are
Okay.
legal immigrants, Latinos, blacks, people of all religious persuasions, all right, people of all socioeconomic backgrounds. It seems like the Republican Party has always been the party of the business person, the businessman. They always put business first, while Democrats always put social issues first. All right, they care about the common man. Okay.
But you're not
Wait.
You're not implying that a Republican does not associate nor cares about the common man. That's not what you're implying, is it? Because I know a lot of Republicans who do care about people.
Chad, let me tell you. Look at what Congress has done in the last year and a half to 2 years. Under a totally Republican House of Representatives and Senate, they have not passed one meaningful piece of legislation. Okay? Now they're elected to do the people's business. Well, guess what? You, me, Felix, we're the people. Okay? The fading middle class is shrinking faster and faster, and that, unfortunately, is because no social programs or issues are being taken up by the Republicans. Look at the decision a couple of years ago by the Supreme Court of Citizens United, where they said, and Mitt Romney was very vocal about this at the Iowa State Fair in 2012, when he said businesses are people too, as far as giving money, etc. Okay? But who gets hurt in the long run? You pay your taxes, don't you? I pay my taxes. Felix pays his taxes. Okay? Those that have, okay, and they are primarily Republicans. I mean, there are rich Democrats, don't get me wrong. And everybody looks for loopholes, but people want to pay as little as possible. Okay?
That's on both sides.
I said, people want to pay as little as possible.
The rich and poor.
You know, but the bottom line is, we have outsourced jobs overseas and to third world countries, and many manufacturing jobs have gone by the way of the dodo bird in this country. People are too old to be retrained. You know, they try to set up programs in community colleges to retrain many of the people who lost their jobs when the recession hit in 2008, 2009. Okay, but the problem is, many of these people have families to support. So while retraining would be terrific if they could do it, they also have to try to bring in income because they don't want to go on public assistance. Plus, these are the same people that don't have medical insurance, people that line up from 3 o'clock in the morning when they find out that a free clinic is opening up the next day so that their family can be treated by dentists and doctors for nothing, and they can be referred to hospitals that'll treat them regardless of whether or not they have insurance. Okay? These are the things that bother me.
And most of those people are in West Virginia, and they're Republicans.
Well, because they've been Republicans their entire lives. They're not like Donald Trump, where he can evolve and become a Republican after being a Democrat. Okay? And I'm not saying I don't like him. Okay? And I do know politicians toot their own horn. But the bottom line is, people like what he says because he's not from Washington. and he doesn't have to be embarrassed by anything that he says, and he stands behind everything he says. And one of the things that he says, which you got to say is true, he said, I get things done. I'm a businessman. I'm not a politician. Politicians talk. I do. And if you look at, forget about the closing of some of his hotels or whatever, but if you look at the fortune that he was left with by his father and how he has made it grow, okay, he's made mistakes, but every business person makes mistakes. And unfortunately, you know, some people get lost in the shuffle, you know, as far as his workforce is concerned. I mean, look, and I also think that I think he genuinely cares about putting people back to work, you know, and he could probably, like he's talking about the General Post Office in Washington, the oldest building in Washington, D.C., and he's talking about taking it over and modernizing it and making it a modern hotel. Well, that's going to create jobs.
It's also going to make a lot of money
when he's
for the government.
It'll make a lot of money for him, and it'll create jobs. So when people hear this, they understand and say, listen, I don't mind if he makes money. He's putting people to work. Okay? Well, he's not shackled by a label. All right? He tries to call himself a Republican with some conservative leanings, okay? But, you know, he is and he isn't, okay? He likes to call himself a Reagan Democrat, all right?
A Reagan Republican.
No, he calls himself a Reagan Democrat. Reagan was elected by plenty of Democrats who were fed up with the Carter administration, okay? And Reagan himself changed from the Democratic Party to a Republican, you know? And I have news for you. As much as they praise Ronald Reagan, in today's Republican Party, Ronald Reagan wouldn't stand a chance. Okay, Ronald Reagan is not conservative enough. He's not Tea Party enough for the party as it is now.
The Tea Party will disagree with you.
Oh, okay.
Most people at the Tea Party said we'd like to get a Reagan Democrat back in there. I mean, Republican back in there.
No, Republicans love to throw the name of Reagan around because when you talk about Reagan, you'll excuse me now, Chad, it's like talking about Jesus Christ. Reagan is the second coming, or in this case, he was the first coming for Republicans. Okay? But I know a lot of people who died because he refused to fund any monies for AIDS research. Now you're talking about 1980 to 1987, okay? No, 88. All right? That was the height of the AIDS epidemic in this country. So many young people were lost, okay? Nobody wanted to find a cure. Why? Because, no offense, Chad, you had religious people saying this is God's vengeance. Okay, homosexuality is a sin, and America's being punished. All right? The bottom line is, you can say whatever you want. These are human beings.
And they weren't all homosexuals.
Who were suffering. Many of them were IV drug users. Okay.
Also, you know, who's the most famous one? Magic Johnson.
Well, but Magic Johnson is still alive.
I know, but I'm just saying
he's still alive because he had so much money that he was able to get the care that a lot of these people couldn't get and wound up dying in hospitals.
No, my point was he wasn't a drug addict, he wasn't gay, and he got it anyway.
Well, you know why? Because he was an amoral person. I mean, what did Magic Johnson say? He slept with 10,000 women? Okay, I know that goes against Chad's grain when you say something like that.
So he was just...
It doesn't surprise me, but you know, guys, that right. But what I think that gets interesting Okay, and I could be completely wrong about this. But I don't think for every case. I don't think I'm wrong in every case, and I'll explain why. Whether you're talking about what happened in the past, I think there's this presupposition that comes out when somebody is radically a Democrat or radically a Republican, that people automatically have these, in my opinion, horrendous worldviews, such as if somebody called themselves a Christian and didn't support a way for people to be healed of their diseases. I don't care how much they call themselves a Christian. If you're going to sit there and call yourself a Christian and then damn everybody with your life and not help, then you're not doing what James says, number one. James says, show me a Christian and I'll show you somebody with good works. But that was his point in James 2. If you read it, a lot of Catholics get that confused and think that it's your good works that save you, and it's not. It's the reflection of you being saved. Okay, that's a difference. There's a big difference there. So look, what I think there should be a careful analysis of is just because somebody is a Republican doesn't mean that they wouldn't be good. Maybe they are truly a Christ follower, and they want to try to help everybody. They want to do the best. And I realize these guys have to make tough decisions. You know, they got to make decisions. They can't always have everything everybody wants, and somewhere somebody's going to be upset.
You're absolutely right.
Our own church, we do a lot of things. Yeah. We help poor people. We go to jail ministry. We support the jail ministry where there's a lot of men and women in prison. And we get them Bibles and we have classes with them. But, you know, we don't support other ministries. And somebody can easily say, well, you guys are bigots. You're very biased towards certain things. No, that's not it at all. Sometimes it's just limited resources. Now, we can't do everything.
Now, if you listen to Republicans and Democrats, they both will say they want to build up the middle class. They have different ideas how to do it. And the economics-wise, from my point of view, the Republicans make more sense. On social issues, I like the Democrats. But I think, but if you listen to most Republicans, they will continue having welfare, Republicans. Republicans do not want to eliminate welfare. Some do, obviously, but...
They want to eliminate Social Security.
Only some, very few, actually. Most are against that. You got to listen to what they say, Mark.
Yeah, privatize it. In the kind of economy and market that we have today, you want to privatize Social Security? If you give people,
how many of the people that are running right now, the 17 Republicans, mention privatizing Social Security? None of them.
They have recently, but not now. You know why? Because everybody's busy fighting Trump. That's why. Nobody's mentioning the economy like that, Felix.
Nobody's talking about
I mean, if you tell people, I will tell you that I leased a car that cost me $100 less than the car that I had before. Okay, Chad? Somebody will tell you, that's great. You can put that $100 in the bank.
Right.
Well, that's like Social Security. You take that $100, put it in the bank. You know what? Ain't going to happen. You know why? Because that $100 goes to pay other bills. So I'm not saving it. Social Security, however much it is a forced savings for when you retire. Unlike that jerk of a young woman on Fox News who said, why are we paying old people when we need that money for us young people? Well, somebody should educate her that when I was working, and I started working, and until the day I retired, my Social Security was paying for somebody who was retired. It's called paying it forward. So young people today are paying...
And I agree with you, Mark. I think the approach that you take in politics is a mixture of both, right? Because there are things that I disagree with the Republicans on, and I'm a conservative Christian, right? I would be considered the Republican end of it. And there's too much classification going on. Mark, let me ask you this. I want to ask you this question.